Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. We are slowly but surely, by the look of it, inching closer to a fight between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, with Wilder's co-manager Shelley Finkel set to return the fight contract to Joshua's promoter Eddie Hearn this week. But, and it's a big but, it will have some notes on it which represent changes that needs to be made, that Team Wilder says needs to be made for the fight to be signed. Per ESPN, Finkel says hopefully there is no problem and will sign right after the changes are made. And just what the notes are, that is not clear at this point, and neither is the what next or the how long. Earlier reporting of this issue, based on an exclusive World Boxing News story featuring Finkel, it temporarily set hearts aflutter with the prospect that a signed contract was being sent back this week. But actually, it's turned out to be a contract's being sent back with notes. So what I'll do is I'll get to the WBM quotes because there's quite a bit of intrigue in what Shelley Finkel is saying and a few things that I do want to comment on because I do see it as a sign of progress. I know some won't, but I do. Buckle in. Let's go. So Shelley Finkel told World Boxing News, first of all, I want to make it clear that Deontay Wilder wants this fight more than Anthony Joshua does, which is evidenced by the fact that Wilder accepted a flat purse for this fight, which is unheard of for a fight of this magnitude. He also has accepted to fight Anthony Joshua in the UK, while Anthony Joshua did not accept a $50 million offer, which Joshua originally asked for, plus a percentage to fight Wilder in the US. Eddie thinks I dislike him. He is wrong. I just have a difference of opinion with him on what a fact is.
All units 10-3, it now appears as though shots are being fired. All officers use caution.
When I state something as a fact, I have written proof to back it up. I dare Eddie to do the same. To clear up one other fallacy, Eddie knows that they have a written term sheet from us which details our $50 million offer for Anthony Joshua to fight Deontay Wilder in the US. We have never received from them a response to this term sheet. And then Finkel goes on to actually set out what he says is the correct chronology of where things have come from to where we are now with this mega fight, saying, on June 11, Deontay Wilder accepted Matchroom's offer to fight Anthony Joshua in the UK. This took Matchroom by surprise, never thinking that Wilder would accept their below-market offer. Shortly after, Eddie Hearn went public, saying that we would receive a contract by Friday, June 15, when in fact we did not receive a contract until late on Monday, June 18th. On Tuesday, June 19th, we requested a clarification of 2 points. They did not respond. I requested them again on Thursday, June 21st, and we finally received a response on Friday, June 22nd. 2 days later, on Sunday, June 24th, I sent them a letter acknowledging Eddie's email of June 22, telling them that we would have the contract back by Friday, June 29th. Since the contract did not state the date or the venue, I also asked for that information. These are the facts, and Matchroom will have the contracts back to them by Friday, June 29th. And those were Shelley Finkel's statements to World Boxing News. First off, I really did have a bit of a chuckle when I saw Finkel's detailed chronology, his detailed account, statements of what he says is the truth. But because the fact of the matter is, with this whole situation, we've seen both sides desperately trying to convince us that their side is the side of truth, that it's the real story. And in some ways, this whole tit for tat's got completely out of control, and it's been played out through the media when it could have all been done behind closed doors, because some of it has gone to the real petty end of town. But the major takeout from all of what Finkel is saying is the contract is coming back to Eddie Hearn by Friday, June 29th. So there's going to be some notes attached to it. They need to be addressed. These changes are apparently small changes. But then again, I guess Eddie Hearn, his view of what is a small change may well differ to Shelley Finkel's. And I know there's going to be some that will say Team Wilder are stalling, deflecting, they're trying to derail the process. But I would just sort of balance that by saying it's not unusual to have a back and forth after contracts are put on the table. And from the tenor of what Finkel is saying, it doesn't appear that the issues are showstoppers, or not from what he's sort of fronting at the moment. I guess time will sort of prove that out. In terms of the issue of a date and venue, well, that appears to be very much up in the air. November, that looks unlikely at the Principality Stadium in Wales. That's got a closed roof, simply because the stadium, which can seat 78,000 for this fight, it's actually booked out all month long on the date that, or the dates that they would be wanting for rugby internationals. And it remains to be seen at this point if October is possible. But let's just say October is the target month. That's 3 months and change away. So both teams, they would have ample time for a training camp, and that would even still be the case even if formalities dragged on for another week or 2, or 3 weeks. And Eddie Hearn, he's spoken about the need for Anthony Joshua to have at least 8 weeks for a training camp. So an announcement of the fight soonish for October potentially, well, that gives him more than 8 weeks. It would be ample. Generally, he has camp somewhere between the 10 to 12 week range, and that would still fit into that if we get a deal done soon. But let's say that if October is out, then I guess the worst case scenario that we need to turn our minds to is that the fight gets pushed into next year. But in terms of commenting any further on that, I'm going to hold off just because let's just see how the late 2018 in terms of dates plays out, because if it's not workable, they'll have to do something. But we'll see on that. One of the other dominoes to fall that fans no doubt are going to be interested in is the all-important broadcast details, including the cost of the pay-per-view. And I'm talking not only for the United States here, but rather worldwide. Because I can imagine that the actual cost of the pay-per-view, it might actually be more for this mega fight than other recent Anthony Joshua pay-per-view cards. And I'm sure you're aware of what it costs in your area, so there could potentially be a premium on top for this fight, but we'll have to see. But in terms of this news, or this development of sorts, I'm taking it as progress, because we really haven't had a lot recently. We've had a lot of stalled out negotiations, then out of the blue, Wilder said, yes, I'll accept your terms, send me the contract. Then obviously for the past week or so, there hasn't been a lot happening. And if we consider that this thing could just be a few minor issues, or a few issues away from being signed, then we can start turning our minds to the actual fight, instead of going through the blow-by-blow of what's become an extremely tedious negotiation period. And like I've said before, my view is this is a 50-50 fight. And it's the fight we want to see and need to see for the heavyweight division. Simply put, we haven't had, a unified, undisputed champion in almost 2 decades. And it would be a massive shame if the opportunity is now lost. But apparently we're on the home stretch, we're on the cusp of getting it now, and caveats aside, signatures appear likely to be inked very shortly in the next couple of weeks. And I guess in terms of the contracts, one of the things that sort of I'm interested in is, how long before the sort of purses leak out? Because I don't think it'll be immediately, but Wilder has been rumoured to be getting somewhere in the $15 to $20 million range, and Joshua somewhere in the $30 to $35 million range. But whatever the amounts, these guys, they are making bank, they're getting paid, and there's going to be a rematch, so they'll get paid twice. There's no real losers here, whatever happens. And in terms of Joshua, there's an interesting piece actually on Sky Sports that they did quoting Kevin Barry, who of course is the trainer for Joseph Parker. And Barry was quoted as saying that while Joshua is an aggressive guy who backs his knockout power, he fought a very respectful, a very cautious fight against Joseph Parker. Whether it was the movement or the fact that Parker wasn't afraid of him, Anthony Joshua was content to try win rounds and not go for the knockout. Those were Kevin Barry's words to Sky Sports. And that got me thinking about the Wilder-Joshua fight and how it may play out. And I think my initial feeling on it is that Joshua is going to adopt a similar safety-first mentality in those opening rounds. And he's going to try just pick them up on the back of his jab, safety first, not trying to take too many risks. And given how the Wilder-Ortiz fight started out, the first 4 or 5 rounds being super cagey, I think Wilder would also have time to have a look at Joshua, to try work him out, look for the weak spots. And he could be very well prepared to give away some rounds early. And he did that against the likes of Ortiz and Washington, for example. Knowing, though, that one big right hand can change everything. And that is his equalizer. So it's a tantalizing matchup, and we're close to it now. So what do you make of it all? What do you make of these developments? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.